The courtroom smelled faintly of polished wood and quiet judgment. Aisha sat alone on the hard bench, her hands folded tightly in her lap, as if holding herself together from falling apart. The murmurs around her were low but sharp, like whispers wrapped in knives. Her in-laws sat across the room, dressed in elegance, draped in pride, and armed with disdain. "Look at her," her former mother-in-law muttered loudly enough for others to hear. "We took her in like charity, and this is how she repays us." Aisha lowered her gaze. She had learned long ago that silence was safer than defense. Every word she could say would only become another weapon against her. Her husband, Samer, didn't even look at her. He stood beside his parents, cold and distant, as if the years they had shared meant nothing. The judge's voice broke through the tension, finalizing what had already been decided in their hearts long before the legal decree. Divorce granted. Just like that, a life collapsed. As Aisha stood, her legs trembled, not from weakness, but from the weight of humiliation pressing down on her chest. She could feel eyes on her, measuring her worth, reducing her to nothing more than a failure. "Take nothing," her father-in-law scoffed as she passed. "You brought nothing, you leave with nothing." Aisha paused for a brief moment, not to argue, not to cry, just to breathe. Then she walked out. Outside, the sunlight felt foreign, almost harsh. The world moved on as if nothing had happened. Cars honked. People laughed. Life continued. But inside her, everything felt broken. She reached into her worn handbag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was the only thing she had left, a letter. She had carried for years but never opened. Her father's letter. The man she had lost long ago. A man everyone had called irresponsible, absent, a failure. She had believed them. With trembling fingers, she unfolded the letter. "Aisha, my little star," it began. "If you are reading this, it means I am no longer there to protect you." Tears blurred her vision as she continued. "I know the world will try to convince you that you are nothing, but you are everything I ever lived for. I had to leave you, not because I didn't love you, but because I needed to build something that would secure your future forever." Her breath caught. "I have left everything in your name. Not just money, but a legacy. One day, when you feel completely lost, go to the address attached. There, you will find not just wealth, but the truth." Her heart pounded. Wealth. Truth. She had grown up believing her father died poor and forgotten, that he had abandoned her with nothing. But this letter, this changed everything. For the first time since the courtroom, a flicker of something unfamiliar touched her heart. Hope. Clutching the letter tightly, Aisha looked ahead. She had nothing left to lose. And maybe, just maybe, everything to find. The address in her father's letter led Aisha to the heart of the city, a place she had only seen from a distance, never imagining she would belong there. Towering glass buildings shimmered under the sun, each one a symbol of power and wealth. Her steps slowed as she approached the final destination. A massive building stood before her, its name engraved in gold letters across the entrance. Khan Enterprises. Her breath hitched. Khan, her father's name. "No, this can't be," she whispered. Her hands trembled as she stepped inside. The air was cool, polished, intimidating. People moved with purpose, dressed in sharp suits, their confidence almost tangible. A receptionist looked up. "Yes, how may I help you?" Aisha hesitated. Her voice felt small. I'm here to see someone." "Do you have an appointment?" She swallowed. "No, but my father, he was..." Before she could finish, a voice interrupted. "Let her through." Aisha turned. A man in his late 50s stood there, his expression unreadable but his eyes soft with recognition. "Miss Aisha?" he asked gently. She nodded, confused. "I've been waiting for you." Her heart skipped. Waiting? For her? He led her through a series of doors, into a large office overlooking the entire city. The view was breathtaking, but Aisha could barely process it. "I am Mr. Rahman," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "Your father's closest friend, and the executor of his will." Aisha's breath caught. "My father, he owned this." Mr. Rahman smiled faintly. Owned. My dear. He built it. The words hit her like a storm. All those years. All those lies. He was one of the most respected businessmen in the country. Mr. Rahman continued. But he chose to stay hidden. To protect you. To build something that no one could take away from you. Tears streamed down her face. Why didn't he tell me? She whispered. He wanted you to grow up humble. Strong. Not defined by wealth. But he always planned to come back. Aisha's voice broke. But he didn't. Mr. Rahman nodded solemnly. He passed away before he could. Silence filled the room. Then, gently, he placed a file in front of her. Everything here. Every building. Every company. Every account. Belongs to you now. Her hand shook as she opened it. It was overwhelming. Numbers she couldn't comprehend. Assets she had never imagined. A life she had never known. You are now one of the wealthiest individuals in this country. Miss Aisha, Mr. Rahman said softly. The girl who had just been humiliated, called worthless, thrown out with nothing, was now everything they had never expected. Aisha closed the file slowly. Her tears stopped. Not because the pain was gone, but because something else was rising within her. Strength. They said I was nothing, she whispered. Mr. Rahman leaned forward. And what do you say? Aisha lifted her head. Her eyes, once filled with sorrow, now held quiet fire. I say, they were wrong. The days that followed felt like a whirlwind. Aisha moved into a spacious home that once belonged to her. Father, a place filled with memories she had never known existed. Every room told a story. Every photograph revealed a truth that had been hidden from her all her life. There were pictures of her as a child, laughing, playing, smiling, moments she didn't even remember. Her father had been there, always there, just not in the way she had expected. One evening, as she stood in his study, her fingers traced the polished desk where he had built his empire. He believed in you, Mr. Rahman said quietly from the doorway. Aisha didn't turn. I wish I had believed in him. Regret stung her heart, but it also fueled her determination. I don't want to just inherit this, she said. I want to earn it. Mr. Rahman smiled. Then start tomorrow. And she did. Aisha began attending meetings, learning the intricacies of the business world. It wasn't easy. Many doubted her. Some whispered that she was just a lucky heir. Others tried to take advantage of her inexperience. But Aisha listened. She observed. She learned. And slowly, she grew. Weeks turned into months. The timid woman who had once been silenced in her own home began to speak with confidence. Her decisions became sharper, her presence stronger. But through it all, one thought lingered in the back of her mind. Her past. Her ex-husband. His family. The people who had broken her. One afternoon, as she reviewed a list of potential business acquisitions, a familiar name caught her eye. Seimer's family company. It was struggling, on the verge of collapse. Aisha stared at the file, her heart racing. Fate had brought them back into her life. Mr. Rahman noticed her silence. You know them? She nodded slowly. He leaned back. What would you like to do? The question hung in the air. Revenge would be easy. She could destroy them, just as they had destroyed her. But Aisha closed the file gently. No, she said softly. Mr. Rahman raised an eyebrow. I don't want revenge, she continued. I want peace. But peace didn't mean forgetting. It meant choosing who she would become. Seimer and his parents walked into the grand office of Khan Enterprises. Their faces filled with anxiety. They had no idea who owned the company they were about to plead with. Aisha watched them from behind the glass wall. Her heart beat steadily, not with fear, but with calm strength. Are you ready? Mr. Rahman asked. She nodded. As the doors opened, Seimer stepped inside and froze. Aisha. He whispered. His mother's eyes widened in shock. This can't be. But it was. Aisha stood before them, not as the woman they had humiliated, but as someone they no longer had power over. Please, sit, she said politely. They obeyed, still in disbelief. We came here to discuss a partnership, Seema stammered. Our company is. I know, Aisha interrupted gently. Silence fell. Her former mother-in-law's voice trembled. You own this company. Aisha met her gaze calmly. Yes. The same woman who had once called her worthless now looked at her with something unfamiliar. Respect. Or perhaps regret. Seema lowered his head. Aisha, I'm sorry. The words hung heavy in the air. For a moment, the past flashed before her eyes, the pain, the humiliation, the loneliness. But then she looked at who she had become. And she smiled softly. I forgive you. They looked up, stunned. But forgiveness doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was, she added. Seema nodded slowly. I understand. Aisha took a deep breath. I will help your company, she said. Not because you deserve it, but because I choose kindness over bitterness. Tears filled his mother's eyes. We were wrong about you, she whispered. Aisha's voice was steady. Yes, you were. Months later, Aisha stood on the balcony of her father's home, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Life had changed in ways she could never have imagined. She had rebuilt not just a business empire, but herself. The girl who once felt invisible had become a woman who could not be ignored. Mr. Rahman joined her, smiling. Your father would be proud. Aisha's eyes softened. I hope so. He always knew who you were, he said, even when you didn't. A gentle breeze brushed against her face, carrying with it a sense of peace she had never known before. Her past no longer defined her. Her pain no longer controlled her. She had turned her wounds into strength, her loss into purpose, her silence into a voice that could inspire others. And somewhere, deep in her heart, she felt her father's presence, not as a memory of what she had lost, but as a reminder of what she had gained. I finally understand, she whispered. Understand what? Mr. Rahman asked. That I was never nothing, she said. I just didn't know my worth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Aisha smiled. Because this wasn't the end of her story. It was just the beginning.